My God, there was a guy that they had, Ed Schaffner. He was a mechanic, kind of.
Kind of?
Kind of.
What does that mean?
Well, my dad bought a Jeep for deer hunting. A real wreck of a Jeep. It was so badly rusted that it had taken the body and welded it back together with diamond plate. And not quite well. And the engine, I guess the hood stood open for a couple of years with the head removed. So the engine had to be completely rebuilt overboard. And basically, it turned it into a hot rod. That thing could fly. Of course, it was all rust, you know, didn't weigh much. So I'm 18, I think, and I borrowed this thing. I asked my dad to borrow it so I could go to Boulder Creek with my buddy, spend the weekend there at Don's cabin. So my dad says, yeah, no problem. He said, Ed worked on the brakes and did a tune-up, should be no problem. So we take off to Boulder Creek, we're going to Highway 9, go to Waterman's Gap. We're going down into the first sharp right-hand turn from Waterman's Gap, Highway 9. And I'm going too fast. So I jammed the brakes on, but the pedals are little on those Jeeps, and I got my foot caught on the brake and the accelerator. And we went powering through that turn with the full power on, full brakes. But we made it. And we get down to the mountain store where the cabin was, and went down back in there on Scenic Drive and picked up a local kid who was going to go to the movies in Boulder Creek with us. So he gets in the car, and we go down, it used to be the hamburger place right there by the river. And I pull in there, and the brakes are soft. I mean, they had logs across the front of that building like a bumper, and I used that to stop the car. I said, gee, Don, the brakes on this thing are gone away. He said, don't worry about it, you know, let's go eat. So I think we went down the street after that to the bowling alley, and somehow I got stopped. So that night, by midnight, we jumped back in the Jeep to go home, go back to the cabin and drop this kid off. So we're going up Kings Creek Road. And it's Friday night, I'm tired, I'm driving, midnight, and his street just went down off to the left. It wasn't an intersection, it was like a glorified driveway. Well, a couple of houses before his street was a driveway that I mistook for his street. So I turned left, I'm looking down a steep driveway, straight into a garage, which was empty, praise God. And I hit the brakes, which were non-existent by then. And Don said, hey, Lou, wrong turn. I said, Don, no brakes, man, hang on. So we went flying through that garage, and crashing into the back wall, which had full of crap, you know, like my garage in the back. Old stove, tools, things. And fortunately, there's a big redwood tree about 3 feet behind the garage. That thing actually stopped us. And it was like a comic movie crash. I mean, quiet like now, with all this crash, tinkle, tinkle, dang, dang, and boards falling across the hood. And the local kids, man, put the thing in reverse, let's get the hell out of here. Of course, by then, all the lights are on. And this little lady comes out, she's about 70 or 80, clutches her chest, oh my God, my garage. And of course, she spots the kid that's with her. She said, I know you. I said, hey, don't worry about it, man. We'll be back in the morning. We'll fix your garage for you. It'll be good as new. Don't worry. So I backed the thing out of there. I made the guy walk home because his street ended at the creek. If we would have gone down his street, we would have ended up in the middle of that creek, I'm sure, probably at 40 miles an hour. So we went back the next morning and worked on that garage for 3 or 4 hours. We had a pile of debris that was 3 feet high, and pushed the wall of the garage and nailed it all back together. And the guy was just, he says, this is the first time in 20 years I didn't have my Buick parked in this garage. I know I parked it out in the front this time. I mean, it was just bizarro. Of course, no damage done to the Jeep, but we destroyed half his collectibles in the back of the garage. So he let us go. And so I went back to the cabin and pulled the wheels off the Jeep. And the brake cylinders were all rotted. And my buddy Ed Schaffner had put new shoes on the brakes, but the wheel cylinders were still as they were in 1943. And so we went off to every auto shop. I think Don's parents came up. So we borrowed their car, drove to Santa Cruz. Everybody's pulling stuff off their stock and blowing the dust off. This is my works for a 43 Willys. Not a car, idiot. It's got to be for a Jeep. Well, I think it's the same. So we bought a bunch of stuff. Came back, we rebuilt the wheel cylinders. And the best we could, we tried to, I think we got 2-wheel brakes out of the deal ultimately, which was good enough to stop it if he didn't go really fast. So I go home with the Jeep. I said, Dad, we had this problem with the brakes. Ed didn't quite do the job. Yeah, okay, I'll talk to him. Don't worry about it. But he continued to use the guy. I mean, he could talk to my brothers about the skill of this mechanic. It was amazing. My dad took all his cars for Ed to work on. I think my dad was probably one of Ed's 2 customers. His garage was always pretty uncrowded.